This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio, already in a bad mood. What the hell, it's Monday. Anything going on in traffic?
Nope, nothing yet. Which is good news for everybody. Pretty early out there considering the roads were wet, you know.
Alright, today in history, Mississippi was admitted in 1817 as the 20th state into the Union. And also in 1690, Massachusetts Bay became the first American colonial government to borrow money. That was the beginning of the end. President Theodore Roosevelt in 1906 was the first American awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Not bad. And if you love a good royal love story, 1936, King Edward VIII abdicated the throne to marry Mrs. Wallace Simpson. And I tell you right now, that guy was a jackwagon. 1963, 5-year-old Donny Osmond sang his debut on the Andy Williams Show. Little Donnie. I always thought was kind of hokey dokey. That's enough of Donnie. I don't like Donnie. I didn't like Donnie as a mature adult. I don't like Donnie as a 5-year-old. 1964 Nobel Peace Prize awarded to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And in 1971, William Rehnquist was confirmed as a Supreme Court Justice. Also, famous birthdays today. Raven Simone. Has something to do with the Cosby Show? What the heck? Well, I have nothing to do with what's...
Yeah, you know what? She was the
littlest girl.
Daughter, I think.
She's now 27. And I want to let Rich Wahlberg know. I need to send him a text message that Emmanuel Sharike, I don't know how you pronounce that, but that's that girl from Entourage that he's in love with. So I got to send old Rich an email or a text message. He's in love with her. Nia Peebles, 51, Trouble. What the heck? I don't even know who the hell Nia Peebles is.
I have no idea either. She's 7.
Rod Blagojevich is 56. Oh well. Michael Clark Duncan. What the heck is he? And Ricky Bobby. Was that Michael Clark Duncan?
No, he's the big black guy that from the Green Mile. That just
okay.
Did he die?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, recently. This guy.
Okay, there you go. Dan Blocker, he was, I think he was the big guy. Hoss? Wasn't Dan Blocker Hoss?
I don't know.
Yeah, Bonanza, yeah, he was. And Emily Dickinson, the great American author, also a birthday today. Human Rights Day and the Grand Ole Opry today. Unfortunately, we lost a soldier. A U.S. commando was killed in Afghanistan during a mission that rescued a kidnapped American doctor. Taken on December 5th, a U.S. Special Forces commando lost his life. You know, on these missions, I always, you know, you have to try to do, you got to save people. But I always think to myself, you know, you watch these movies all the time, and of course we have real life situation like this where you're trying to save one person's life, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many people die trying to save the one person's life? It's kind of like, well, I don't know. Tough calls in life. Today, it's going to be showers, high of 47. Tuesday, partly cloudy, high of 41. Wednesday, sunny, high of 45. And, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, we got lots of jackwagons. Attention hounds. They like that. People that go on TV to rant about the world ending on the 21st just to gain 30 seconds of fame. You know, we're going to jackwagon up anybody that says the world's going to end on the 21st of December because we know it's not.
I thought they changed that.
And we're also going to jackwagon up Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack, who says rural America. Now remember, this is supposed to be the advocate of agriculture. Rural America is becoming less and less relevant. Hey, Vilsack, when did people stop eating? Jeez, oh Pete. And Poway Unified School District in California only owes $1 billion on a $100 million capital appreciation bond. a type of bond in which payment can be deferred well into the future. Wow. That hurts. That hurts bad. That hurts real bad. What else do we have here? Interesting random facts. A balding man, an average human, loses about 200 head of hairs per day. And why in the hell isn't everybody bald? The Oscars. Because metal was scarce, the Oscars were given out during World War II were made of wood. And of course the Academy Awards and the Golden Globe nominations and all that stuff will be coming up. Raise your legs. By raising your legs slowly and lying on your back, you cannot sink into quicksand. If you ever stuck in quicksand in Africa, you know what to do now. Israeli glue. The glue on Israeli postage is certified kosher. What? So you can lick it and not be worried about it. On the average, 100 people choke to death on a ballpoint pen every year. You know what? I'm shocked it doesn't happen more often because I always have a pen in my mouth and I could swallow that sucker at any time. Dating. 35% of the people who use personal ads who are dating are already married. Jeez, old Pete. To be single. Ugh. The electric chair was invented by a dentist. Now that's interesting. And they used the electric chair for the first time to kill somebody in the United States on my birthday. Bruce Lee was so fast that they actually had to slow film down so you could see his moves. Now that's fast. 747's wingspan is longer than the Wright brothers' first flight. Duh. Just the facts. 14% of all facts and statistics are made up. And 27% of people know that fact. Stamps. Every time you lick a stamp, you're consuming 1/10 of a calorie. I don't think you're going to get fat licking stamps, Garrett.
Take a lot of stamps.
I mean, that's a lot of licking.
Probably end up losing weight in the whole ordeal.
Yeah.
You think so?
Licking for that
Well,
long.
that is good. Mouth of the yard.
You know what? I got to find this sucker because it's worth repeating. I'm going to find it because it was from Saturday's newsletter, and it was good. After 35 years of marriage, a husband and wife came in for counseling. When asked what the problem was, the wife went into a tirade listing every problem they had had in the years they had been married. On and on. Neglect, lack of intimacy, emptiness, loneliness, feeling unloved and unlovable. An entire laundry list of unmet needs she had endured. Finally, after allowing this for a sufficient length of time, the therapist got up, walked around the desk, and after asking the wife to stand, he embraced and kissed her long and passionately as her husband watched with a raised eyebrow. The woman shut up and quietly sat down as though in a daze. The therapist turned to the husband and said, "This is what your wife needs at least 3 times a week. Can you do this?" The husband replied, "Well, I can drop her off on Mondays and Wednesdays, but on Fridays I fish."
I knew that was coming.
I love that joke.
Adequate job, William.
And then diamonds. This is something none of you know out there, and I'm going to help you out here. Diamonds are measured in carats. The origin of the word carat lies in the Mediterranean region where carob trees have flourished since ancient times, and the seeds of the carob tree were once used as units of measurement against which diamonds were weighed. 1 carob seed is roughly equivalent to 1 modern carat, the word we use today to describe the weight of diamonds. How you like that? You need to know these important things, Garrett, to get through your day at Coke. Your boss might come up and ask you, "Garrett, what's a carat?"
It's really important.
And if you don't know, you can get fired.
Get canned right there on the spot.
Isn't it a vegetable?
And West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, in a letter to the president of MTV, called for the canceling of the new reality show Buck Wild, a Jersey Shore type show, saying you preyed on young people, coaxed them into displaying shameful behavior, and now you're profiting from it. That is just wrong. Oh, so we can make fun of New Jersey, but we can't make fun of West Virginia? That's all it is, making fun of some people from West Virginia. Did you go to Reds Fest, Garrett?
Did not. Did you?
No. You are going to say I hate crowds.
Yeah, see, I don't like, I don't know. There's nothing at Reds Fest I want to do.
Yeah.
About meeting the players and that stuff.
Oh, look, man, it's the money. It's a Reds player. All right, when we come back, we'll see if anything's going on in traffic, and we'll also deliver more radio superbity. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. This is 3 Doors Down, Kryptonite. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, there are days I wish I was more technically astute because I just don't understand some of this stuff. Is there anything going on in traffic?
You know what? There isn't. Everything looking pretty good out there. I just took a quick look all around there as far as the cameras go. Wait a minute, let me take that back. They are, well, it's a broken down car on 275 right around the Kentucky state line. Not a big deal. They're reporting an accident on Petersburg Road at North Bend. So those are two new things that just came up onto the computer.
Garrett, what do you think about Tuberville?
Huh?
How did we pull that off? Was my first reaction.
Tuberville?
He comes from Texas Tech,
Yeah.
and he is Auburn national champion, and he comes here because he's buddies with the AD.
Yeah. That sounds like the only way that he worked that out. They worked together at Auburn in like 3 years, from '99 to 2002. And
Could Tuberville
Yeah,
use
okay.
this opportunity because he's sitting there thinking to himself, well, wait a minute now. Look what Brian Kelly did. He went to Notre Dame. Look what Butch Jones did. He gets to Tennessee. Does he look at this as his way back into the elite, or is he going to make this his home for life?
you know, I think most UC fans hope that, but you're right. I mean, for the last several years, the difference is Tuberville's a coach that we finally brought in, one that has a resume, whereas in the past UC has just gone and found the Brian Kelly and the Butch Jones from smaller schools and brought them up here. So they're looking to advance. This guy's maybe he's looking for a program to kind of build and keep at the top and make a net. I don't know. That's what UC fans hope, at least.
Yeah.
But they got to try something different because they can't keep the coach as it is now.
Hillary Clinton is expected to testify soon on the House Committee of Foreign Affairs. Yeah, right. We'll see what she has to say. I'm just trying to go over some things from the weekend that was worthy of mentioning. How about this? A 31-year-old Pennsylvania resident, Rachel Kozloff, is on trial for allegedly killing her boyfriend while her 10-month-old son was in a room not nearby. She allegedly told him that she smelled sex on him before shooting him. Garrett, have you ever smelled sex on your girlfriend and said, you got sex on you and I'm going to kill you?
Not sure I know what sex
Smells like. Yeah. I'm not going to comment on that.
Nice.
I have no idea. Thanks for asking, Gary.
Not a problem.
And how about this old Gangnam Style, whatever the hell his name is, this guy?
Hey, you talk about a jackwagon.
You know, nobody realized it as he's making all this money that he, and he's actually gonna be on a stage, you know, kind of for Barack Obama. That he sang a song in support of killing Americans who capture and torture Iraqis. He wanted them to be killed slowly and painfully. Of course, nobody knew about this. So, you know, okay, yes, people are going to still listen to a song, but do you invite him to do something that's like official in nature? I don't think so.
No way.
Bad call. Real bad call. I tell you right now. Hell in a handbasket. That's what we're doing. Hell in a handbasket. Do you know why the Morton Salt used the girl under the umbrella logo? Any of you? Do you know that?
No.
Because one problem with ordinary table salt, that it usually contains trace amounts of magnesium chloride, which cause it to become damp and clump together in the shaker. So they're trying to have the umbrella say, hey, protect your salt. Protect your salt.
Really?
Yep.
That is the reason for the umbrella.
Yep. Weekend box office report: Skyfall, 11 million. Rise of the Guardians, 10.5 million. Breaking Dawn, 9.2 million. Lincoln, 9 million. Life of Pi, 8 million. That's like a 5-way tie almost. Jeez. Angelina Jolie, according to TMZ, has suggested she might retire to stay at home with her busload of children. Angelina Jolie, we're happy
I
for
wouldn't
you.
miss her.
Fiscal cliff mocked on SNL. Jay Farrow and Bill Hader held a joint news conference as Obama and Boehner. Obama agreed to no tax increases because he felt sorry for Boehner because the GOP treats him bad.
That's pretty funny. We've got that. You're going to play it later. But
Yeah, well, we'll play it later. The Rolling Stones play Brooklyn, New York. Making a clear play on age, the New York Post titled their Stone story, The Rolling Bones. Jurassic rockers deliver satisfaction at Barclays. What the hell. Adele's facing a $1,600 fine for failing to register a baby's name within 42 days of birth. Gotta register those names or get in trouble.
Is that the name, Wonderwall?
I have no idea what that. No, that's a report.
Oh, the report. Okay.
Jeez, oh Pete, come on.
What the hell's Wonderwall?
Sky, were you into Star Wars? I could care less about Star Wars.
Yeah. All right.
Skywalker's lightsaber will hit the auction block later this month and is expected to fetch between $30,000 and $50,000. Jeez, who cares? Leanne Rimes broke down an interview talking about the affair that ended her marriage and why she did. You can't break what's broken already.
Just great singer though.
Who gives a damn?
Oh.
These people are all self-important, man. At least I think they're just so self-important. See if there's anything worthy of mentioning in local news. I mean, you know what we got in local news? Death, murder, and mayhem.
Isn't it sad?
Jeez-o. Here's the headlines. Hollywood actor arrested in Blue Ash. Police charge 17-year-old with murder. 3 shot in Laughlin shooting. Ohio airport security officer killed. Claremont deputies arrest man who stole van with 3-year-old inside. Police called to break up housing crowd in Columbus. A crowd that grew at one point to 2. I think we got a clip on this. Crowds. They pepper sprayed them.
Peppered them.
Please leave the grounds or we're going to pepper spray you. By the way, going down to the stadium yesterday, when we were getting close, there were 3 cops on horses at an intersection that were, how should I say this? They would block the pedestrian traffic crossing the street and then let them go. And I'm sitting there thinking, why the hell are you on a horse? You don't need your horse to do that. You know, it's almost like one day one of these horses is going to run over and trample somebody, and I hope that I get the case. I mean, what? Police on horses in downtown modern cities, I don't get it at all. At all. I can actually understand cops on bicycles in downtown cities, but horses? Don't get it. Do you get it?
Oh, isn't it Tahoney that wants to do away with that?
Yes.
Good for him.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury, when we come back, we'll have some more radio superbity for you. I'm warming up, and I promise you wonderful commentaries in the last 2 hours. This is ELO, Last Train to London on ClassX Radio. You know what? Take the deal. And do you believe Seattle beat Arizona 58-0? They got 8 turnovers. Jeez, oh, Pete.
You know, Larry Fitzgerald's dad, Larry Fitzgerald, the big wide receiver?
Uh-huh.
His dad is like a writer for some paper that he's the sports writer that covers the Cardinals. And he wrote a column after the game that said they quit. The team quit. I mean, to lose 51-0, you have to quit.
Who's their coach?
Ken Wisenhunt.
That's what I thought, Wisenhunt. He's gone.
Yeah, he could. They haven't had a starting quarterback all year. Their offense has been horrible.
You know what? How about RG3 getting hurt? And that's a big, big blow. Now, they say no major ligament damage, but you don't need major ligament damage. Just a little bit slows him down maybe the rest of the year. Helps my Cowboys out. I like RG3. I hope he's not seriously injured. But I'd be lying to him. I didn't say like he was just a little bit injured so Dallas could make sure they win. That's all. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
My UK Wildcats beat another tough team over the weekend. Portland, man, it was a close one.
Real tough test they had on their hands there. How about my Bearcats?
What Patsy team did they beat?
Oh, man. Maryland Eastern Shore.
Oh my God, where do they
Yeah,
find these
I
teams?
know.
UK plays, they're coming up, they play a team like, I forget the name of it. I mean, it's like a small town in some podunk place,
Yeah.
you know. Fairmont, I think it's Fairmont. I think they're playing Fairmont.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I mean, you bring these small schools in and say, hey, we'll give you $100,000, and they'll.
Can you imagine after you play one of those teams, playing like your SEC team or your Big East team's like, whoa, all right, it's real now.
There's a good and a bad to it. Right, exactly. There
Right.
is. You gotta be able to flip that switch. Well, you really should just play hard anytime, but
A team
to
like
go from that to that competition is.
UK, it's not a bad deal because they got to get gelling.
Yeah, and any team does at the beginning of the year. That's why they load up for the most part with cupcakes. Even if you do have a Duke, Kentucky like they did early, you still 90% of your pre-conference games are against cupcakes.
Xavier beat Kent State 62-55. Wow.
Next week, big crosstown showdown.
Yep, tonight's NFL schedule, Houston at New England. That's a good game, 8:30 on ESPN. Denise, what's going on out there in traffic, if anything?
Well, there's a couple of issues out there. Nothing really major, which is good news. And
Damn
actually,
right, there's a bunch of issues out there.
well, not
There's
major.
always issues.
If you have an issue,
I have
call
issues.
Bulldog.
It's freaking-
1-859.
Go ahead. I tell you right now, all these issues. I got more issues. What's that Lapham bit? Got more issues than a newspaper stand or newsstand.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Denise.
I was just going to say, did you want me to do this? Okay, Petersburg
Not
Road,
really.
there's
Not
an accident at North Bend. Well, okay, I can go home. Cleves Warsaw
So you-
at Ebenezer, and then you have malfunctioning traffic lights at Glenway at work. Go for it. I'll go home. You guys take over from here.
I can read a computer.
Go ahead.
You know what's going to be funny, Garrett? We're going to start getting like texts from the Prince of Carrollton saying, "Leave my woman alone."
Yeah.
Oh,
He's gonna come in with that Sasquatch outfit and beat our ass.
squash.
Right here on the.
That was disconcerting looking up and seeing a Sasquatch guy person.
Well, I remember seeing your face.
I was like-
Because Denise told me, and I'm like, oh, this
What?
is so stupid. And then I see his face, you're like,
Yeah.
just blank.
All right, and some more news. Nelson Mandela, a true hero. I was proud of my boy Parker. He asked me about Nelson Mandela, and I gave him some information, and it kind of made me feel good he was inquiring. But Nelson Mandela, the former South African president, has lost his ability to talk. The 94-year-old was airlifted to a hospital Saturday after his condition began deteriorating. What a phenomenal human being to be locked up for decades unfairly and just not lose your goodness,
Nope.
your humanity. I mean, I'd be one pissed off person. I got out. I mean, I would be like, who can I kill?
I would be like, screw this, major drug issue, develop a bad habit.
Senior Al Qaeda leader Sheikh Khalid bin Abdul Hassan was killed during a U.S. drone strike in a Pakistani tribal region near the Afghan border. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. Is everything? I tell you right now, folks, I have my email messages and texts come to my phone, and do you ever have somebody, and I don't know who this guy is, but it's like you get message after message after message from Facebook, and I'm going to defriend this guy because I get sick and tired of getting his stupid, wasted, freaking I mean, I have gotten like 100, and I don't know if it's a malfunction or what, but it's irritating the hell out of me.
That's probably an annoying guy.
If you can't tell, I'm freaking grumpy this morning.
Are they the same messages, or he just keeps posting something different?
Same message.
I get some kid from high school that always invites me to his stupid band performance that I'll never go to.
Right?
And I'm like, quit inviting. And you get those notifications about it. It's like, oh, it's annoying. People are just like too pushy. That's
what here's my whole thing, and this is just the way I feel about it. I don't want to post anything that I think that my quote-unquote Facebook friends could care less about. Now, you can't make them all freaking happy, but I certainly am not going to comment like, for example, I'm going to the laundry today. They don't freaking care.
No, I know.
Or pictures of your kid, or
Right.
your dog.
Yeah. All right.
What's
plate of
wrong with
food.
pictures of your kids or your?
How about traffic?
You know what? Still dealing with just the same issues. Accident at Cleves Warsaw, at Ebenezer, and Petersburg Road at North Bend, and still have malfunctioning traffic lights there at Glenway at work. So, other than that, it's not looking too bad yet.
All right. All right. I tell you right now, nothing's working for me today. Foul, 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 foul.
Stinks,
Did I say
especially on a Monday.
foul mood?
Mondays are the freaking worst, man. No matter what happens, something's bound to go wrong.
All right.
Great.
Alabama, the heart of the South, conservative. Clay County, Alabama, 14,000 residents and 100 churches. In other words, I am not kidding you, that is the same as Independence, Kentucky, having 100 churches. That is incredible.
Yeah.
That's 140 people per church. Is the last dry county in Alabama. You'll like this one, Garrett. 2 students, Thomas Cunningham, 21, nephew of Bill, and Mary Essa, 19, were arrested for suspicion of second-degree assault, fraudulently inducing the consumption of a controlled substance, and conspiracy after they brought marijuana-laced brownies, making their professors and classmates sick. Only in Colorado. I mean, come on, what are you freaking thinking?
Waste your pot brownies on your professor? That's
Jeez, oh,
Maybe it
Pete.
doesn't put them in a better mood.
I don't know. And Pearl Harbor Day was on Friday,
Yes.
and I was shocked. Will you jackwagon up David Cousins? I mean, double jackwagon David Cousins. I'm calling him out. Jackwagon, block him. I'm done with this jackwagon.
Defriend him. Give
There
me
you
your
go,
phone.
you have
I'll
to
defriend him.
Get rid of that guy.
Unbelievable. Let's give him third.
Let me see what this is. Vicki Lawrence is an American actor. The night the lights went out. I don't care about freaking Vicki Lawrence. You know what? David Cousins must be a ClassX radio DJ.
Really? And this is the guy sending you all the messages?
Yes!
Wait, is he posting
I'm
on
gonna
the
look.
ClassX Facebook?
I don't know. What does that mean he's doing? Thank you for dropping my phone. God, I tell you right now, I am going to have a freaking nervous breakdown live on the goddamn air.
I don't know.
Freaking Garrett then drops my phone.
I didn't know it was plugged in.
Jeez, oh,
I'm
Pete.
thinking we were going to clean handoff.
My God. What do you think about this Dallas Cowboy, Josh Brent,
How sad.
released from jail on a $500,000 bond an hour after the Cowboys beat Cincinnati? He said of his deceased teammate, Jerry Brown, Jerry Brown was my very best friend. I'm just trying to deal with his death right now. Here's my take on this. All right? First off, what a tragedy for Jerry Brown and his family, because he apparently was a great guy, great player, was apparently a happy-go-lucky. Apparently all his teammates just loved the guy. He was on a practice squad. And, his best friend is now having the legal responsibility as well as the emotional devastation of losing your best friend. They were out drinking together. Well, I don't know if Brown was drinking, but
You'd think he was.
and it's one of those classic things. It's kind of like, well, it's just bad for everyone. I don't get it though. This is another example. You shouldn't drink and drive, period. I just don't understand why people keep drinking and driving. Isn't there enough examples where people have died or tragically injured and killed? And it's like, if you drink, don't drive. That simple, period. And then you got a situation where, from a legal standpoint, his car flips over. He apparently pulls Brown out of the vehicle, and it apparently caught fire. And they put him through some field sobriety. Well, his defense lawyer is going to have a field day with that. He was just in a wreck. He just lost his friend, so you're not going to tell me that that's not going to affect his ability to do tests. Now, if he reeked of alcohol and he admitted, hey, I drank 10 drinks someplace, well, that, they got him nailed there. But, you can't kind of hold it against him not being able to do certain physical tests. After you wreck your car, you flip it over, you hit your head. I mean,
Well, they went to the hospital, I guess, took blood too.
Yeah.
From that night.
It's
so,
mandatory
yeah.
according to Texas. You know what? Texas is a state you don't want to commit a crime. DUI. I think your second DUI you get hung.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's in a. Well, I mean, doing something like that, you're never in a win situation. But just sad, because you know he's going through hell because it was his best friend that he killed. But now he's going to have to face the book and the judge. It's just sad because it ruined 2 lives. Killed 1 life, and now you got one guy that's
Never be
ruined.
the same.
Never.
How about this New Jersey Mayor Cory Booker, Newark, New Jersey, is admitting he's considering a run for the governor of U.S. I'm absolutely considering running for governor. You know what's going to be funny? Is he'll run against Christie, and everybody will support him, including Barack Obama and Bruce Springsteen.
Chris will
Christie.
be saying, but wait, I supported you, Barack, in your
Yeah.
fight against the hurricane.
You'll learn, baby. Lawrence O'Donnell asked Gingrich for an apology, suggesting that Gingrich falsely predicted the economy would suffer if Clinton raised taxes in '93. Who cares? Jeez,
Listen to
oh,
this, he
Pete.
really gets him for.
I think that was a sarcastic request. Don't you think?
Wow.
I'm still waiting for an apology from Doug Schulte from grade school for telling everybody I wet the bed.
Yeah, but you know what I have to.
I want an apology on the radio.
I have to say I've told that story a couple times because for me, for respect for you to even talk about it on the air,
What?
it just says a lot about you.
What about the bedwetting thing?
Yeah, that you, I mean, you know, it's something that you had no problem talking about on the air. People, all kinds of people, you know, my ex told me that he had the same issue. We were talking about it. So I just find it, I mean, very admirable that you.
45 years ago, didn't it?
I know, but I mean, it's not
You're
like he's embarrassed about talking about it. It was
Nah,
an
I'm
issue
not.
back then, and he, you know.
By golly, it was devastating back then.
I'm sure.
But as an adult, I could admit I was a bedwetter.
Well,
and it
there's
was
issues
Now
that
he's
cause
humiliating. But you know what? I'm over now. I
Right.
just want everybody to know that I don't wet the bed anymore.
Thank goodness. I'm sure Mary's glad
I
that
always
you
crap my
don't.
pants all the time.
Thank you for that,
So
Gary.
I'll start confessing.
When we come back, like in the movie Almost Famous, where the
Yeah.
plane's gonna crash, they all start, I screwed around with your wife, I'm gay, all this stuff, and all of a sudden the plane doesn't crash. That was bad. All right, we come back, we're gonna have more Radio Superb. This is Orleans Dance with me on ClassX Radio. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. Most incredible, screwed up day out of the gate in a long, long time. What's going on in traffic?
Well, luckily that's not too screwed up out there. Right now, just there's 2 accidents left over Petersburg Road at North Bend and Cleves Warsaw at Ebenezer.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I'm telling you right now, this quote-unquote fiscal cliff, nothing's going to change. You know, they had a private meeting, they did. Good old Barack Obama and John Boehner yesterday. And they're starting to play games already. They're messing around with inflation. They're messing around with these indexes. You know, they can make a cut that's not really a cut. They do this all the time. You know, I didn't realize something until I read something that Rand Paul put out, and I guess Rand Paul, in deference to the Romney campaign, kept his mouth shut during the campaign about it. It's incredible that the Paul Ryan plan balanced the budget in 38 years. What a joke. What a joke. I don't get it at all. I mean, how they can just sit back and say, well, you know, 38 years from now, we'll have this thing done. We'll have this thing passed. Are you kidding me? 38 years. By the way, I got another life observation I'd like to share with everybody. One of my pet peeves. Since I'm in a bad mood, I might as well just mention them all. Everyone likes different things. I get it. I accept it. For example, the three people in this room, what we like to do and what's a priority is all different. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's what America's all about. You choose what the heck, you know? Don't you hate when others tell you what you should do for fun, how you should relax, and think they know what's best for you? I'll tell you right now, when these people tell me, you ought to relax more, Bulldog, I freaking already relax. You should take it easy and spend more time with your family. You should do this. You should do... God, it irritates the hell out of me. I'd like that everybody to know that I am just very freaking happy the way I live my life, the way I live my life. Don't you hate that, Garrett, when people tell you certain things?
Oh, yeah. Especially as far as...
Busybodies.
Right.
Busybodies.
Oh, can't stand it.
Man, oh man, oh man.
People just like Denise.
What about you,
I bet
Denise?
Denise tries to tell people how to live their lives.
You know what? Everybody to each his own. I'm the last person in the world.
Amen.
It's hard for people to find different things and relax in different ways. And who that, you know, I mean, I don't know what he likes to do in his spare time. You either. I know you like to eat shrimp around Thanksgiving. I saw you get excited about that. You said your stepmother was going to have, yeah, so, you know, but nobody, no,
Yeah,
I
who
can
is
see,
anybody else to tell me how to live?
I can see people saying, oh, check this, like you guys talked about the movie Lincoln. Check that movie out, it's a good movie. You ought to go
Saw
see it.
that, by the way, Friday night. Lincoln, great flick.
Okay.
Are they good?
Yeah, real good.
So I can see that.
There's some
suggesting
questions. I wish
something.
I would have had you there as kind of my personal commentator.
Oh,
if I
you
ever
didn't.
needed a clarification on something the guy said.
Well, if you
Dog,
ever,
what does that mean?
if you ever need, I would be able to help you there.
So, Tommy Lee's character was a Republican the whole time.
Correct.
Why did him and the First Lady not get along? Because of how much spending she was doing?
Yeah, the reason why well, first of all, there were major issues with Mary Todd Lincoln for several reasons. Number one, she overspent. She would go to New York and in the middle of the Civil War rack up incredible bills, and it drove Lincoln nuts. I mean, he had to pay him personally. In addition to that, she was a little weird, and she would actually hold seances in the White House with spirit people, okay? And she had this little group. In addition to that, she had relatives that fought on the southern side. And there was a lot of accusations that she was a Southern sympathizer. So there were all kinds of issues that people had with Mary Todd Lincoln. Now, the character that was played by Tommy Lee Jones, who actually, of all irony, was from Pennsylvania, Thaddeus Stevens, representing the Gettysburg area of Pennsylvania, was what's called a radical. And what the Republican radicals were, they wanted to be harsh on the South, and they were very pro, as displayed in the movie, they were very pro-anti-slavery. Right. And as you saw, you know, they wanted him to hold some restraint, you know, so they could get this bill passed. I love that scene where Lincoln is talking to him about the compass, due north.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you don't always, you know, you have to pass through marshes and mountains, and you don't always just go straight there. But Tommy Lee Jones played that role very well.
Now, my last question about it, at the very end, they were kind of debate. I guess they went to Lincoln. Remember, they ran across the field into the White House.
Right.
They went to Lincoln and said
Right.
they want a continuance or whatever on this vote.
Right.
So that people could get there.
Right.
Those people were getting there, and they were going to tell them what? They were going to say...
No, what that was, what at the end of that, the note was this. There was, to satisfy the conservative Republican parties, which were displayed by the one character, the house that's across from the White House, the famous house, his name escapes me, but it'll come to me in a second.
House of Reps?
No, not the House of Representatives. Anyway, they wanted to get his vote is displayed, get that block of votes. they wanted Lincoln to at least try for peace. So Lincoln had sent word to the South that, hey, and by the way, this was uncanny. The actor that played Alexander Stephens, the Vice President of the Confederacy, looked just like Alexander Stephens. It's kind of spooky. Anyway, so those people were on the way to the White House in Washington in order to have this meeting to discuss the possibility of peace. Well, just like anything, every reaction, there's an adverse reaction. That would have made another segment of the Republican bloc vote, and then, of course, those that opposed the 13th Amendment. So Lincoln, while at the same time he's trying to appease the conservative Republicans by inviting this delegation to the White House to discuss peace, he was proceeding slowly, and then when the word came out on the House of Representatives floor that, hey, this was a deal that was made, and they're on the way, and everybody was up in arms. Of course, they weren't actually in Washington, so that's why they had Lincoln sign that to say they weren't. They weren't. And of course, he didn't lie because they weren't in Washington. And
he said he had no information or something about
Lincoln was playing both sides of the fence.
Okay, that makes sense. So if they would have gotten there, it would have taken votes away from Lincoln.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
Because, okay, makes sense.
And of course,
great movie, though.
Of course, Lincoln held him in balance for a long time. It was a great movie. The suicide prank nurse. You know, this nurse that took her own life. I can tell you right now, folks, it's a shame, it's terrible, and everything else. You can't blame the prank.
No.
First off, they did some television interviews. They thought they would just get hung up on. And when they weren't hung up on, it was like, it was kind of like shock.
Think of that. There's radio pranks that people do every single day. They'll call somebody and say, I mean...
It's a cause and effect.
This got a lot of national attention, but is that why? Just because she was kind of the good?
I
It's just a joke.
I understand there were some other issues relative to her.
I'm sure there were.
The other nurse didn't commit suicide. You know?
Right.
I understand the radio station supporting the two people.
And the guys came out and they were like, they felt terrible about it. It's not like they wanted that to happen.
Yeah, who feels good about that happening?
You can't blame those guys. They're like you said, there's other stuff going on.
Obviously, lots of other stuff going on. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, when we come back, I'm going to comment about the Army-Navy game. And I'm going to comment also about some more things that went on this weekend. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. This is the great killing band Jeopardy on ClassX Radio. Want to pick some songs? This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. What's going on in traffic?
Well, let's take a look out there as far as traveling around the tri-state. Everything is slowing down already. Starting to see those brake lights, pretty much all those typical spots. Southbound 71, you're slow from Fields Erdel all the way down to the Ronald Reagan Merge. And then again on 75, pretty much the same way, right around 275 as you're continuing on down, off and on down to right around Paddock, especially through the Ronald Reagan Merge and 275 Merge. Northern Kentucky slow as well. So other than that, no new accidents to report, so that's at least good news.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I watched a show, and I don't know what channel it was on, but it was about the traditions and the importance of the Army-Navy game. Now, like many of you, I have watched the Army-Navy game in the past, but maybe I didn't understand it as well as I should have. I know everyone that I know that went to either the Navy Academy in Annapolis or the Army Academy, West Point in New York, I know they always took the game serious. I find it very interesting that the game is played after the final game of college football, and it is in fact the only game that is played on Saturday, this past Saturday. No other college football games are played. And of course, when you see all the cadets and you see everyone from both academies go to the game and attend the game and their enthusiasm, I always remember that watching the game. I also get a kick out of the tradition that the President of the United States watches one half on one side and the other half on the other side. And at halftime, there's actually a walking across the field to the other side. And, I always, kind of thought to myself, these guys are soldiers and sailors first. Of course, they're all officers. but they also play this game of football. And, you know, the game, when you look at the history of the game, these schools, particularly Army, had a wonderful winning tradition way back when. And you had Vince Lombardi, for example, was even a coach that went through the Army football coaching tradition. And of course, I always think about Napoleon McCallum, who was the great running back for the Raiders that actually went to the academy. And you know, you go through the academy, you are committed to your service years. But these football players, you know, they're soldiers first. At the same time, they're also football players. But watching this show, and then subsequently watching the game, I didn't realize that the Navy had actually won the game 10 straight years. And if you paid attention to the game Saturday, we learned that the Navy would win again. And in candor, the coach of Army did a terrible job play calling late in the game when they had an opportunity to extend a drive. It was second and short. He runs the ball up the middle 2 times very conservatively. Then they miss a field goal, and then Army, you know, Navy drove down the field, scored a touchdown, and ends up winning the game 17-13. And I was rooting for Army because I had learned from this show that Army had lost 10 straight years. And no matter what kind of season Army and Navy has, this is the most important game. I mean, Army and Navy could not win a game, and if you're Army and you beat Navy, and if you're Navy you beat Army, it's a good year. It means that much to them, and they honor each other before the game and even after the game because they're quote-unquote will be fighting side by side. But at the same time, they really care about the game, and if you saw this show that I watched, when you see how happy the Navy was for winning last year, it was incredible. Now, I want you to know that the military isn't perfect, the academies aren't perfect, just like nobody's perfect. And as my father pointed out to me once when I was making comments about the church handling of the pedophile priest issue, and it was a very strong point and one which I yielded, and I will never forget, is the fact that the Catholic Church has made mistakes changes nothing of the good the Catholic Church has done. And so oftentimes people want to throw, quote-unquote, the baby out with the bathwater at something. Just like when somebody wants to throw a life away when they've done something wrong, but otherwise they've lived a good life. I mean, they say that it takes a lifetime to build up a reputation and one indiscretion to blow it. But as I watch this show, and I watch the game, you know, and I saw what they go through and how hard they work, and you know that they graduate. I think there was like 1,200 to graduate a year, and then they receive their commissions. And it's so funny the comments they make about each other, like the Air Force Academy. They think all they do is the Army. All they do is just push buttons. You know, they don't do anything. I mean, the competition amongst the different academies is funny. But you know what? What grabbed me, and of course Barack Obama was at the game, you know, and you know, he's a basketball fan more than I guess he's a football fan. But man, I'm watching this thing, and I couldn't help but think how the Army, Navy, West Point Academy, the Academy in Annapolis, the Navy Academy, are such islands of tradition in a sea of pop culture driven society now. I comment on my radio promo that it used to be that movies and music and pop culture was a diversion. Now it's not a diversion, it's the main attraction, it's the main menu. But here they have these 2 schools and this great tradition and all the things they stand for. And despite everything that goes on in society and how things have changed, that they hold on to those traditions. And how important it is to them that they do so. Something so important as just to quote-unquote sing second. And then they showed some of their football players, their former football players who'd come back from Afghanistan and Iraq with missing limbs, and how they inspired them. Once a strong former linebacker, now without 2 legs. And he talks about, how, hey, that's the way life is, and you keep on going, and the inspiration. And I think to myself, my goodness, how many children, teenagers, and everybody else in the population of America, they don't think about it, they're not paying attention to it, they don't see it. It's all focused on what's next. What's the next temporary pleasure versus what really matters in life. Something that's lost, but not in the Army-Navy game. You know what? I've decided I'm going to watch the Army-Navy game every freaking year for the rest of my life. It's going to be a new tradition in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury, when we come back, we will have more radio superbity, and I have some more things to comment about. Until then, we'll dedicate this song to these Dave Mason groupies, Joe Deters and Randy Freaking. We Just Disagree on ClassX Radio. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. Do we have a traffic report?
Well, we do have a traffic report here. We have an accident. Now, this is in the Ellesmere area there on Dixie Highway, southbound at Maine, and it's blocking the southbound lane. So if you're traveling through that area, needing to get to 275 or 7175, you might run into some issues there. So, also on the ramp, southbound 71, right around Red Bank, you need to watch for that. There's an accident there. The rest of the traffic just slow, pretty typical looking out there as far as the rest of it goes with your normal delays. So I won't bore the Bulldog with all the delays. Just letting you know about the accidents.
You got some delays?
We do. 71, 75.
Tell the people about the delays.
Always slow. 71, 75 from Buttermilk on down to the bridge. Southbound 71 from Fields Erdel on down to 275. Then on and off from around Pfeiffer on down to Ronald Reagan. We've got it at the merge there on 275. Starting out around Union Center on southbound 275. Continuing on down, or 75, on down to 275. Then again between Lockland and Paddock. And then again right around 74 heading northbound to Mitchell, 471 in that right-hand lane. So aren't you glad you asked about all those delays?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury, I was told a story by my daughter, Charlie Ann. Her good friend, Dana, is the cheerleading coach at Simon Kenton High School. And Dana told her the story that the other night at the basketball game, apparently the audio went out for the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem, and somebody just said, well, let's sing, and one person started to sing, and she said the entire crowd, all the players, all the cheerleaders, all the fans, everybody in the gym sang it, a cappella.
That's neat.
It's pretty cool.
Is that not awesome?
Yeah. Gives you goosebumps, really come think
It
about
does, and I thought to myself, well, maybe that's the way we ought to go back to doing it. That's pretty cool.
That is neat.
I got to share another funny story, and I'm not going to divulge who it is, but Garrett, this is right down your alley. I know a young man
Every time you say this, it's about like drugs.
who was
or-
very attracted to a beautiful young college classmate. And we're...
Hell, who works in your law office.
No. Who was like smoking hot. And this young man was very attracted to her and was like, waiting for his time and his opportunity, so to speak. So beautiful, a model actually. And
He had no chance with her.
the other day, this young man was talking to her and was very pleased to hear her say, I've got to go over to my ex's house and pick up some things since we broke up. And this young man was excited. His pulse increased. He's thinking to himself, now, this is awesome. She's single. She's going to be mine. I'm playing my cards right. And this young man said, well, I'm sorry to hear about that. Totally insincere. I'm totally I feel bad about that. You know, is there anything I can do, or you know, do you need me to take you over, you know, give you a ride or whatever? And his object of his eye and heart said, "No, my ex won't mind. She's pretty cool about this kind of thing."
I knew that was coming. I knew.
To
she
which
was
this
all
young
right,
man,
so.
turned completely red-faced and just said, "That's cool." Can you imagine? Oh, wow.
Man.
Was he
At
heartbroken?
least it didn't get you in too deep with it, you know?
That's an inappropriate word. We call them gays.
Gay, so to speak. Homosexuals.
Lesbian is an inappropriate word.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say that, I don't think.
Really? Do they like just the gay?
You can say lesbian, but you know what?
Well, I mean, I
Politically correct is lesbian, but not lesbo gay.
Lesbo would be.
Finish the appropriate word.
I was gonna say, I didn't think that would
Why
be.
is it lesbo and not lesbi?
I don't know.
It's a lesbi.
Let the
Could you
lesbian
imagine
be,
if it was
you know?
the other way around?
I got another funny story to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, I went to the Northern Kentucky Bar Association Christmas dinner. I went last year because my dad won an award, and I hadn't been for a long time because I don't hang out with the bars. I mean, that's not my thing. But Stan Billingsley and his wife, who run Law Reader, are friends of mine, were taking their employees there, and they were going. So I went too. And Chuck Holbrook went, Crystal Palmer went, my godfather went, and we sat at a table and we had a good time. It was at Summit Hills Country Club, someplace I never go. But it was so funny because the guy that won the award is a lawyer that I like. He's my former partner, Bob Hoffer. And he's on the board, and I like Bob. But man, Bob gets up there and he gives his speech. And he's talking about how many, the people in the bar, and they work hard for their schools and their communities. And he makes a backhanded comment about people that have disciplinary issues and whatnot. And I took great offense to it. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, he said something, and I don't know about you, but I'm tired of it. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know what, Bob? When you work in a defense firm where all you represent are hospitals and banks, you're never going to have a bar complaint or a disciplinary issue because they don't file bar complaints and disciplinary issues. And it's just an elitist freaking thing. The whole bar association or the whole community of lawyers is so divided. On one hand, you've got the bar association, ivory tower types, who basically run the bar association. And then you got the other guys who are the street lawyers, the criminal defense lawyers, the divorce lawyers, the plaintiffs lawyers, the people like me. And there's absolutely zero commonality in all reality. I mean, it is like two different worlds. It's why plaintiffs bar creates, the Justice Association and whatnot, because they don't feel. And when they give these Lawyers of the Year award, this is hilarious. Do you think, Garrett, that maybe, just maybe 1 year, a lawyer that, for example, does criminal defense work, or domestic work, or plaintiff's work, who does something brilliant and great, maybe deserves the Lawyer of the Year award instead of one of the institutional lawyers who win the award every single year?
Never has a
criteria?
defense attorney won it?
No, ever. Let me
What's
give an example in my own right. I'm using this as an example, not that I deserve the Attorney of the Year award, but I'm using this as an example. I fought for free for my community the Kenton County jail battle. Okay, isn't that an awful neat thing to do? No other lawyer in the freaking Northern Kentucky community would do that, or did that. And here's the other thing is too, the Bar Association, they always talk about pro bono. Everybody needs to do pro bono. Everybody should do pro bono, pro bono. You know what I tell them? How many of you guys, because all they do is bill and get paid, work for years for a client that maybe was tased or shot by a cop for 5 years, and you don't get paid because you don't win the case? That's called pro bono. you work your butt off for years and you don't win, that's pro bono. Because they're not allowed to do that. Their law firms won't let it. No, we don't want to take that case because we don't know if we'll get paid or not. So anyway, it's just an incredible experience to sit there and watch the differences between. And by the way, I got friends who are part of that crowd. I mean, I'm serious.
I'm sure you got friends.
I got plenty of lawyers who are friends, but it's just, man, you just don't feel part of their little group.
Oh, I'm sure. Is it more old timers? Like I picture a bunch of old lawyers.
Nah, there's
like old
there's old lawyers on both sides. Both sides. What's really
You
funny.
gotta start your own group and go against them.
Well, that's funny
Like
because
Dennis or Pub.
it was funny because when Bill Robinson was the president of the American Bar Association, I created a Kentucky corporation called the United States Bar Association and made myself president.
There you go.
Just to kind of
Why
mock
not?
it.
Yeah, right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, American Jury, this is Billy Joe, and we come back. Our final hour of superbity on ClassX Radio.com. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. I just want everybody to know that that song, Captain Jack, was part of the Spry collection and not mine. Jeez, oh, Pete. The M word in the song? What the? Crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury, as I often do as I'm working and I'm watching television, I come across so many little things to share with you. You know, Dick Cheney coined a phrase I thought that was pretty good about our foreign policy, which is, our friends don't trust us and our enemies don't fear us. And that's not good. When I think about it, that is so true. You know, or Iran taunts us. Israel and England, they don't trust us. I think I mentioned this also Friday about this. The big issue right now, the number one issue going on right now in foreign affairs is this issue of Syria and whether or not they're going to use chemical weapons or not. And Barack Obama's more tough talk. Remember, actions speak louder than words. I'm going to play a little clip of that, for example, coming up to honor my friend. Let me tell you something. How about this? We make a difference. Now, don't get me wrong. I know chemical and biological weapons are bad. But how hilarious is it that Barack Obama says it's okay for Assad to use guns, machine guns, bombs, explosives, dynamite, tanks, airplanes, rockets to kill his people. But man, if you do it with chemical weapons, I've had enough. It's really a joke. All right, you got a traffic report, Denise?
We do. There's a problem on westbound 275 at Loveland Madeira and is blocking the left lanes. There's emergency vehicles on the scene. So if you're heading in that westbound direction, you're going to start really slowing down. It isn't, I was just looking at the camera a minute ago, it's not all the way back to 50 yet, so not looking too bad there. But again, expect some delays in that direction. Southbound 71, you're slow if you're heading from around Fields Road 1 down to 275. And then over on 75, really between Lockland and Paddock, and even at Lockland right before the split doesn't look too bad. 71, 75, still slow from Buttermilk to the bridge. And it looks like we have an accident eastbound on 275 at Taylor Mills, so you need to watch for that as well if you're heading in that direction towards 471.
All right, another fun fact that I picked up, folks, is you know the emergency alert system this country has never really been used to alert, come on, Twitter, phones, television, radio. Now they say that if, you know, television and all that got knocked out, that the transistor radio and car radios, that we would need this emergency alert system. But it apparently hadn't been tested till 2011, and we know that we first tested it, played Lady Gaga music. But this thing cost us all this money all these years. It wasn't even used at 9/11. And guess what? I understand from someone who reported this, who was in the New York area, that it reported through text messages to the people 12 hours after Hurricane Sandy hit by Twitter to take shelter. Another wonderful thing about the government. And if you think the government is the answer to end all, and remember when I talk about simplicity versus complexity, in 1913 the tax code had 400 pages. Today, 73,000 pages. 400 pages in 1913, 73,000 pages today. Now,
Wow.
those of you, I could see some liberal jackwagons who say, well, the economy's more complicated. No, it's not. Income is the same. Sales are sales. Capital gains, sale of an asset is a sale of an asset. It goes on and on and on. It's the same. But no, let's tax it differently. Or let's make it more complicated. And I also, you hesitate to use these extremes as examples. It's like in the libel case for Sarah Jones. The fact that Sarah Jones did something wrong doesn't mean that it's okay for everybody to libel her or people to libel her. And the example that I use is like Charlie Manson. This is an extreme example. Charlie Manson is somebody who's like hated, right, by everybody. He is a cold-blooded, jackwagon, killer, goofball. All right? Well, the reality is if somebody published that he was a convicted pedophile, and he's not, well, he's not a convicted pedophile. I'm using that as an extreme example. Now, he already has a lousy reputation, so it might not make any difference. So I'm going to use this example at the risk of people saying, God, I can't believe you use that as a comparison. Many years ago, and by the way, at the Bar Association event, my good buddy from my fraternity, Dennis Scanlon, was there because he was in the band that played. And it made me feel good that I follow lots of different things, and I was able to congratulate him on his son being such a great golfer at Covington Catholic, and I could tell that filled his heart with joy. And then he commented back to me how much he listens to my little history lessons. Well, here's one for you, Dennis. Back in 1917, in a country called Russia, there was a Tsar, which means Caesar, the king of Russia, from the Romanov family, named Nicholas II. And things weren't good in 1917. Russians were dying on the front of World War I. It was cold. People were starving. Then there was a protest, and the Tsar sent in his own men to crush the rebellion. And it set the stage for the revolution of John Lennon and Trotsky and company, which led to communist Russia. And you know what led to communist Russia? What gave Lenin the opportunity? Great public discord. The hopelessness that people felt. See, you always have a king or someone like Lenin to fill the void when you have that void. When I come back, I'm going to finish this thought, but it's very relevant for today. Till then, I got to play this song because I heard it at the Bengals game and I loved it. AC/DC, Back in Black on ClassX Radio. I got to finish my thought, and I got some more good stuff to tell you. All right, so when you have a void, there's always something bad that tries to fill that void in these countries. You look at what's going on in the Middle East, We get rid of Gaddafi, what fills the void? Al-Qaeda. The Muslim Brotherhood fills the void in Egypt. Lenin felt the void in Russia. And one of the reasons why I hated George Bush, who was the worst president that we had ever had up until Barack Obama, is because what he and the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress did, from Afghanistan to Iraq to the economy, they created an opportunity for a Barack Obama with his hope and change to come to power. And then when you have someone who is a scorpion, like Barack Obama, who is willing to do anything and everything to hold on to that power. And now we got 51%. He's willing to use our tax dollars to fill the void. We're just stuck. And it's like great discontent. When you get people who have nothing to lose, they're going to support the government that takes care of them. So you have all these people in America that they're unemployed, they got all these issues, they're like, well, by golly, I'm going to vote for the guy that's going to take care of me. And I don't know if we will ever reverse it. Unless everything completely collapses and everybody says, well, maybe this didn't really work out the way we thought it would work out. But I'm telling you, that's what's happened in this country. It's the same concept. It's the same principle. And those of you that think it's an overstatement that we're headed to socialism, by the way, guess what tomorrow is, folks? And I have not forgotten this. Tomorrow is my anniversary.
Oh, it's a good thing you didn't forget it.
My anniversary.
There's really no excuse anymore. 'Cause you can even set your phone or... Guys really shouldn't. Not that that's what you did. I'm not saying that. But it's a good thing that you remembered. I wouldn't think you'd.
What'd you get her?
Oh, yeah.
Chicken coop.
That's Christmas.
Oh, that's right. Well, can it be an
No,
anniversry?
no, no,
Joint
no.
gift? I agree with you. It's this close.
Nope.
It's within a
Nope.
month. It's a
Let me
joint.
tell you about my wife's lucky calendar from December through February. There is anniversary December 11th, Christmas December 25th, her birthday January,
What?
and then February January 20th, and then her birthday, Valentine's Day, February 14th.
At least you get them all out of the way in a pretty consolidated amount of time, you know?
You know,
Jeez,
there's
it's an
nothing.
expensive couple months.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, if her birthday
Nah,
and your
she's low
anniversary-
maintenance.
Well, I was gonna say that's just the chicken coop's not a personal thing, so maybe.
Yes, it is a personal thing. She's excited about her chicken
Sure,
coop.
I
You
don't
think he
need
wants
that.
a
I think
chicken
it's.
coop?
She's going to be a chicken
She's
farmer.
gonna use it to feed him. That's what it
My
is.
thing just go out? I don't know.
I
All of a sudden, I can't hear myself in my ears.
Well, I hear you.
You do?
I do.
You're
Oh,
on.
good. All right. Well, I can't hear myself in my ears. All right. How about a traffic report?
That we can do. Westbound, that's me. Westbound 275, right around Loveland Madeira. There's an accident there. That's off on the left shoulder. So, and then also eastbound 275 near Kentucky 16. Eastbound Ronald Reagan, just east of Wenton. Those are a couple of accidents. As far as heading out, things are actually not as heavy as far as traffic goes out there this morning. You are slow 71, 75, still from Buttermilk down to the bridge. But over on 75, it's not as bad as a normal morning, just right around the Ronald Reagan bridge.
All righty.
Can you hear now?
Yeah. You know, I like to tell myself, you complimented me the fact that I mentioned that I was a bedwetter. Well, now I've got something for the first time in my freaking life, which I am going to oppose. There was this sales tax issue relative to bulldogs, like where they were claiming bulldogs owed like $1,000. The next thing I know, they were trying to claim, they were trying to claim it was like $5,000. So I've disputed this, okay? And I was even going to file a lawsuit against them relative to like a tax lien challenge, because they had reached a point to where they say if I don't pay it, they'll put a lien, a tax lien. So for the first time in my life, the Bulldogs got a tax lien for a few $1,000. And I've never had this happen to me, so I don't know what my options are, but I'm going to fight this thing. See, they think they can
What are they taxing you on?
they think they can embarrass me with a tax lien. Well, not if it's a tax lien of a tax that I don't owe.
Well, I was going to say, what would they be taxing you on? The
The Bulldog doesn't scare easily.
T-shirts? I mean, you
No, it had to do with sales tax issues.
right, but you would have to sell
But by the way,
something, wouldn't you?
by the way, I always paid.
But it's you paying a sales tax on things you've sold?
Denise,
I'm
if you're
just
in
asking.
a restaurant, you have sales
Okay,
tax
well, that's
on
what-
food and beverage sales.
Sure.
And if you are an owner of a restaurant they hold you individually liable under the law for any sales tax issues.
Okay, but you were saying Bulldog.
I thought you ran a business for your
I
husband.
thought you were saying Bulldog Nation.
Must
I
have
didn't
gone
realize
under.
it was through your.
Yeah, what happened? Is your business still going, or is it gone under?
Yeah, my business is going just fine. I don't have any tax problems. I'm just simply trying
Bulldogs.
to figure out Bulldogs.
Bulldogs went under. But you see,
I ain't there.
but you know what? I stand with Harry Truman and Abraham Lincoln, who had business failures.
Hey, if you get a restaurant again, can I be on the menu this time?
Hell yes.
Can you be on?
Put Jack Crumley on. The
Do you
menu.
believe?
I didn't get a
Do you believe I put Jack Crumley on there and he mistreats me?
The horrible little
Crumley,
curmudgeonly redhead.
you will never ever have. Yeah, he's like the Junior Red Rifle. Let's call him the Junior Red Rifle. I was making fun of that nickname, Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle.
Oh,
It's kind of
horrible nickname.
It's kind of disgusting and kind of pornographic if you really think about it.
People are too quick to give people nicknames anymore.
Like, why do you
Don't
need a
have to
nickname?
earn it.
Yeah, not everybody has to have a nickname.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to have a nickname.
Cincinnati, they nicknamed him that after 1 year.
Man, oh man, oh man. Can you imagine all the sad people yesterday in Cincinnati after
Oh.
a last-second field goal?
That was great.
Right
I was pulling
down
for the Cowboys.
You were?
I was glad the Cowboys pulled that out at the end. You know, the Bengals had multiple opportunities to intercept Tony Romo. And
Hey, we were teasing the Bengal fans around us about how we know about Terrence Newman. Terrence Newman dropped 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Way to go, Terrence!
Horrible.
That's why we got rid of the guy.
Hey, did,
Overrated.
What was the experience like for you yesterday? Did you get some weirdos around you in your section?
No.
Some
We had-
drunk hillbillies?
No, we had good people everywhere.
Were you in the 200 level? Oh, we got some visitors.
No, we were in the 100 level.
Oh, okay.
118, blue level.
Don't get
All
some
right.
hillbillies.
When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, I'm going to remember a buddy of mine over the airwaves. But don't worry, it'll be relevant to your life too. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. This is the Bulldog on ClassX Radio. How about a traffic report?
Well, we can do that. As far as heading out, westbound 275, right around Loveland, still dealing with that accident. They have it off on the left shoulder. Traffic is clearing out, so that's at least good news there. Eastbound 275, they're saying that one's still there around Kentucky 16. Eastbound on Ronald Reagan, just east of Wenton, and another one with injuries at McPherson and Glenway. So watch for all of those. And really, it seems like some of that traffic out there is a little bit lighter. You know, getting close to Christmas, people taking vacations.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, I want to thank Bob and Carol Holtkamp for bringing in some Christmas goodies to us.
Yes.
And I want to honor now my good friend who passed away last week, Robert Robeson. And I'm going to do it. I have a special clip that I am going to dedicate to him at the end of my comments. I met Bob about 15 years ago or so when he came into my office, and he wanted to, and he needed to get a lawyer right away because he was having a dispute with his business partners. And I'm not going to cover the whole story with this, except just to tell you that he's an amazing man that had guts. And he kept, stuck to his guns. And at the morning of the trial, based upon my preparation and based upon his guts, he settled the case for exactly what he wanted. It was incredible. And I learned a lot from him. And he became my good buddy. And over the years, we used to have lunch every week. And he was kind of like a mentor. And he passed away last week. And, a funeral service is a critical pause for those living to respect the deceased by that pause. And it's important for both the deceased, who deserves the honoring, so they're not forgotten, and also for ourselves, so we do not forget and comfort ourselves. And I've been asked to do the eulogy today at the funeral, which is quite an honor, and everyone knows that a eulogy is a funeral tradition to honor. I saw a great movie called Serendipity, where Ari, the character in Entourage, Ari, Jeremy Piven, says that the Greeks at a funeral would ask of the deceased, did they have passion? Did they have passion? And I thought that was pretty cool. That's a heck of a thing to ask. A good thing to ask. And Bob was Irish, and I've learned that the Irish tradition, everybody knows about the Irish blessing, which is awesome, but the Irish tradition from the Celts, including drinking a good stout at a funeral, or they call them wakes. They probably ask, instead of whether they had passion, is did the deceased hold his stout? Bob's biggest passion was business. He just loved business. And as everybody knows, Calvin Coolidge said the business of America is business. However, Bob's devotion to the challenge and benefits of a successful business was based on what all businessmen and women know. A business benefits one's family, one's community, one's church, one's employees, and the rest of the community. And Bob understood this and pursued it with zest. Yet Bob, like all Americans should, cared about politics, his country, history, and his friends. He loved to travel, he loved to read, he loved to discuss business and current political issues whenever he could. He also loved his Irish heritage. He enjoyed being the godfather of his own Irish mafia. He also loved his family, and he particularly relished in a child's accomplishment, which all of us parents, you know what we're talking about. But he was also very proud of his son Michael, whose success in the energy business as an affiliate with the company he helped found was extra special. And he was proud, and like most men, his pride suffered in his final years because of that curse that so many of our elderly face called dementia. And death, as Sophocles, the great Athenian playwright, wrote, is a debt which we all must pay. And Bob's now paid it, but he will no longer be with those limitations which weighed on him. And in death, of course, we know there's liberation, and when one has faith like Bob had, there's peace in knowing what awaits. But I will always cherish my memories with Bob having lunch at Josh's over at the Drawbridge every week. And we always discussed history. He enjoyed biographies and documentaries, just like I did. And we would have wonderful lunchtime discussions about history's great historical figures we both admired. Washington, Jackson, Lincoln, Reagan. And, you know, Bob knew love and he knew loss. He knew success and he knew failure. But through it all, he practiced what Winston Churchill famously said, never, never, never quit. And Bob would imitate Churchill at lunch, you know, he would tell me that. And he gave me a bookmark with that on it. Never, never, never quit. And there are some movies like Gladiator or Braveheart we men can quote and watch over and over. I actually can watch the opening scene of Gladiator over and over and not watch the rest of the movie. And my favorite part is when Maximus shouts to his men, what you do in this life echoes in eternity. And although Bob was well past 80 years old, he lived his good life, and although he was not a general or a president of his country, he did know the responsibility of the office of the president of a corporation, and the responsibility of a father, a husband, a grandfather, a friend, and a partner. And through this, he will too, not just in heaven, but here, live through eternity. Now, if you love the Irish, and Bob called himself the Irish Mafia, there's no better portrayal of the Irish Mafia than Boondock Saints, where they would go to the church and they would recite their prayers, they would say their Hail Marys, they would go to daily mass, and then they would go out and do justice. And justice needed to be done. It's a great Irish movie, great Irish Mafia movie. This is the opening scene, which I've played over and over again, and I dedicate it to Boondock Saints too. I dedicate it to Bob, because Bob loved the Irish Mafia, Bob loved the Irish, Bob loved the Catholic Church, and Bob loved being a doer. So hit it, Garrett.
Most people are just talkers. All they got is talk. But when all is said and done, it's the doers who change this world. And when they do that, they change us. And that's why we never forget them. So which one are you? Do you just talk about it? Or do you stand up and do something about it? Because believe you me, all the rest of it is just coffee house bullshit.
You know what? I feel like we got a president that always interested in his coffee house bull. Do any of you guys want to be on the radio? Like, you got any friends listening? You want to be famous for a moment?
That's,
Carol,
Bob and Carol,
they're-
our whole camp, are being bashful.
yeah.
They are.
They're being
they
bashful.
love, yeah, they love the show. They love what we're doing here.
Brought
How about
cookies in for you. How about
Cookies
that?
and everything.
Yeah.
You know what? I had a conversation with somebody this weekend that will rename anonymous because we had this conversation. And he told me, he goes, you know, if I'm ever afflicted with dementia or terminal cancer or anything else, he goes, I'm overdosing on my medicine and I'm checking out. And you know what? I can understand it.
Just gonna go out happy and high, huh?
I don't believe in euthanasia. You can't have that. But, you know, if you want to take it in your own hands, I'm telling you. I mean, is there anything more terrible than when you know, especially someone who has lived life to the fullest that you just can't handle it
In
anymore.
the end, they just don't.
You're in.
Both of my grandmothers had, Alzheimer's, and it's just a slow deterioration, and it never gets better. There's no way to make it better. I hope
My wife,
eventually they find something to curb it.
my wife and I on the way home Saturday from Christmas party that we went to had a candid conversation about it. You got to have that candid conversation.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury, when we come back, we'll wrap up this superb show. This is Bad Company. I hope you haven't had good loving gone bad, but sometimes it does. On ClassX Radio. My dad was in Florida yesterday on his birthday. I don't even call him. You know, he hates to even be reminded it's his birthday, so it's kind of like, I'm not going to call him and make him mad at me.
He really
It's better
doesn't.
to
Oh,
right?
he hates mentioning, he hates the birthday. But I want to tell you something.
The alternatives work.
That I want to take him to see the movie Lincoln. There's not too many movies out there that, I want to take dear old dad to that he doesn't want to go to, but that's one of them because I know he would enjoy it. And again, Lincoln is a class. It's so funny when you listen to Barack Obama and how he handles and deals with everything relative to the fiscal debate and his own personal life. You know what? I crack up. You cannot study Lincoln, and when he came into office, he claimed that he watched The Team of Rivals. I mean, he read The Team of Rivals by Kearns, and you have a private screening of that movie, and it doesn't affect you in a positive way. Well, it's clear that Barack Obama doesn't get Lincoln. I'll explain that after a traffic report because when I get going, I don't want to have to stop for a traffic report. Go ahead.
I'll make it real quick. Some accidents: Columbia Parkway at Delta, Glenway at Work, Paddock north of Tennessee, Montgomery near 275, and 128 at US 50. So those are the accidents, and just a few slow spots left over on 71, 75, just right there at the merge.
All right. And you know what I'm going to do too at this eulogy is Martin Luther King Jr., and I learned this from reading his biography, he would prepare meticulously his eulogies. And then when he got up in the front pew to go up and speak, he left it in the pew. And I can assure you that the difference in these, and everybody knows this, when somebody reads a speech versus not read a speech, reads an opening statement in court, doesn't read an opening statement in court, you forget about 15% of what you wanted to say. But the 85% you say is so much more powerful that it precludes it. And I am going to deliver my eulogy without reading it. So it's more powerful. No teleprompter.
Was that it?
Yes.
Sir?
It's more from your heart.
It was good.
I wanted to share it with the world for two reasons. One, I wanted to share it with the world, and number two, I thought it would do me good to do it once so I don't break down doing it in the chapel. Now back to this Lincoln thing. Abraham Lincoln was humble. Obama? Not so much. Abraham Lincoln, they both came from humble roots. Abraham Lincoln was a workaholic. Obama, not so much. Abraham Lincoln was someone who wanted to not punish the South. He said, give them their horses, give them their guns, send them home. He wanted them all just to declare their loyalty to the Union and come on back. He was someone who had that trait of forgiveness. Obama, not so much. Remember some of his comments? You lost, we won. He was, Abraham Lincoln, a man of great intellect and personality who loved to tell stories and engage people. Barack Obama, not so much. Isolates himself. Doesn't like the interaction with Congress. I mean, you can go on down the list of traits of Abraham Lincoln, and you won't find him in Barack Obama anywhere. I mean, anywhere. Also this, Abraham Lincoln actually did an invention of, a flatboat, because he worked on a flatboat, so a flatboat wouldn't take on water. Barack Obama didn't invent anything. He doesn't have any patents. Abraham Lincoln has a patent. Also, Abraham Lincoln was taller. He was white. Obama's black. I'm trying to think of other differences.
How about the little stories he always told? Was that true?
Oh yeah, he
No, it was just broken.
loved those stories, and he told them when he was a lawyer.
The
He
best
told him-
freaking line is when he kind of gets, what are those constituents? The guys he was trying to convince that were going out for him
Right.
to convince other guys
Right,
to vote
right.
their way. And he goes, I am the President of the United States, bathed in immense power.
Yes.
Something like that.
By the way,
That was so
there's one
That's
common.
awesome.
There's a common characteristic of Obama and Lincoln. Lincoln basically decided he's going to save the country, and if you don't save the country, the Constitution is meaningless. And Lincoln took a lot of heat for the suspension of habeas corpus, which was basically if you get thrown in jail, you're allowed to petition to get in front of a judge to get out of the jail. Okay? Well, he suspended that. Those were all things that. Barack Obama obviously doesn't care much about the Constitution, but of course, Lincoln had some good excuse, the Civil War. Oh, here's another thing that I thought was just so Lincoln-esque and so cool. His pardoning of soldiers. That scene, and it's all true, that scene where he pardoned the 16-year-old, he wrote about that famously, where, do we really need another 16-year-old corpse? He had a hard time sending people to the gallows. That would be tough for me too. I couldn't. That would be tough for me to do. You had to make examples out of some. But Lincoln was a great movie. Bob and Carol, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. You got to go see Lincoln.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, every dog has their day. I hope today is yours. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully, with a better beginning of the day.
Monday is over.
Yeah, Monday radio's over. God, here I go on ClassX Radio.